सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते। Page 99, श्लोका नंबर 39। आत्मन्येवाखिलं दृश्यं प्रविलाप्य धिया सुधीः भावयेदेकमात्मानं निर्मलाकाशवत्सदा। Yesterday we saw how to prepare for on the seat of meditation so that we can intensely contemplate upon that which I am not, and why I am not is because that which I am. So vivikta desha asinaha, vivikta desha asinaha aratir jana samsadi. We see that in Bhagavad Gita. Viragaha vijitendriyaha, viragaha with dispassionate outlook. Vijitendriyaha from the asana siddhi, meaning when I sit in that seat without having to move the body, so that the accessibility of the prana, the indriyas becomes easy. bhāvayedekamātmānaṃ tam ananya dhīhi, tam anantam ananya dhīhi. bhāvayedekamātmānaṃ. There has to be this Brahma vasana, Brahmaivasmiti vasana, the earlier shloka. Now, in order to create that vasana, one has to put the effort, because nididhyasana is to remove the vasana of all kinds of limitation. Because of that intense, intimate, immediate effect of all the limitations, because I am functioning not just through the body, mind and intellect, I am functioning as the body, mind and intellect. Many times our identity is not just with the body, mind and intellect, but it expands and extends to the world that we are integrally a part of. Whether it is tatkalika, temporary, or whether it is a very long-lasting one. My house, my car, my corner, my chair, my clothes, my things, my everything, my. If my things are not kept properly or randomly placed, that day whoever did that had it. It is not that it is broken, it is not that it is, but it has been moved. ये गुस्सा आता है, ये गुस्सा आता है. So the extension is also quite intensely identified with. Two ways to work at it. Both are necessary. Is from the external and one at the root cause. What inspires me personally is always go to the root cause. See, initially if you have to weed out, like I think long time ago I gave an example, this banyan tree or the peepal tree, they have the knack to grow in the most amazing unreachable crevices that develop on the walls. If it is grown out like a bush, maybe you have to trim from outside, but then the only way to remove it, to reach to its root. And from the root, when you pluck it, the entire disturbance is removed. Unless you sit with that root cause, identify it, any other technique from the outside, though temporary relief, it is not a permanent solution. Most of us, like in Bhagavad Gita in the evening we saw, pashyanti, they see, but akritātmānaḥ, acetasaḥ, they don't focus on the root cause. Without focusing on the root cause, in the name of sadhana, do the externalities. As I said, I'll repeat again, it will give temporary sense of relief, but not a permanent one. For the permanent one, we have to go to the root cause. So, what is it that has to be focused upon? In the last shloka also, that particular words, set of words was put in place, and in this shloka also that particular phrase is repeated. bhāvayedekamātmānaṃ. So if you see in 38th shloka, there is that repetition. In the 39th shloka also there is that repetition. The repetition is done so that the abhyasa and the focus of that abhyasa is consistent. Even in Viveka Chudamani or even in the Upanishads, we find that a particular phrase or set of words are repeated. Usually when somebody is repeating something, it is a little annoyance. It is called a dosha. But if it is for abhyasa, then it is not considered as dosha. Like for example, if somebody while speaking always uses, what I mean is, those kinds of words where they keep repeating it in there. You know what I mean. You know what I mean is, those repetitions are like a nuisance. It is considered a dosha. In vocabulary, in poetry, it is considered as a dosha. But then when you see that in spite of it being dosha, it is being repeated, it is for the purpose of abhyasa. So that the focal point, because so much is being discussed, the focal point should not be lost. So what is the focal point after having seated in the seat of meditation? Again, sitting in the seat of meditation is to jumpstart the system. It is like the old ambassador car which even after you have keyed it in, gir 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 doesn't move. So you need 4 or 5 people to push it. But you don't need that push after the initial inertia is mastered. So the initial inertia being mastered is on the seat of meditation. But it is not limited to that corner. You have to get out of that corner and continue this bhava all across in every walk of our life. Thought, word and deed. Bhāvayedekamātmānaṃ. Bhāvayet, visualize. Eka Atmanam. Now here Eka Atmanam should not be understood one of the Atmas. One and one alone. Advitiya. One without a second. That which is the true core of my being. When I say the core of being, it is not limited to one limited to one corner of my body. It is all pervading. But the buddhi is the only place where I can visualize it. Therefore, the center of focus becomes the buddhi. So, where do I visualize? In my buddhi. And how long should I? The last word of that shloka is sada. Yes, in the initial stages we have to create a certain time frame and stick to that time frame as a discipline, morning and evening. But it doesn't limit or has to limit itself only to those times. When I am in front of Bhagavan, I am a bhakta. As soon as I turn my back towards it, I become a vibhakta. Vibhakta also has a meaning that fragmented. Vibhajana. Bhajana is to devote. Vibhajana is to be fragmented. You might have seen everybody going in front of Bhagavan, Venkateshwara, Govinda, 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 Govinda. As soon as you get outside, there is a free laddu. Or itna pushing, it's like gali galoj. What happened to that Govinda, Govinda? It is Govinda. No, you have to carry that intensity outside of that experience to continue it all through all walks of life. And thought, word and deed, not just the outer external action. That should be the intensity of this bhavana. Bhavayet, visualize it. What to be visualized? ātmanyevākhilaṃ dṛśyaṃ pravilāpya dhiyā sudhīḥ. Atmani eva akhilam dṛśyaṃ jagat prapancham pravilāpya līnam krutva. Līnam krutva is my addition of meaning to it. Don't say, वो कहाँ पे है? श्लोका में नहीं है. Pravilāpya means to merge. Līnam krutva. To dissolve, to resolve. What is to be resolved as? this is going to be a very tough concept. Shloka looks very simple, but what it indicates is a very, very tough concept. That the entire field of experience, starting from this body, mind and intellect to the outside world, everything is just a mere projected reality. And I am the adhara for it. You may have seen Paramanandaya and his 10 students. You may have heard of those stories. The teacher was awesome. The students were even more awesome. The teacher taught the concept of adhara and adheya, that which is the substratum, that which carries everything, and adheya, that which is carried. Without the adhara, that which is adheya cannot be carried forward. So the cook in that ashram asked them to go get ghee from the nearby shop. The Setti's shop has ghee and they all went. Usually it is all for one or none for nothing. So they have to do it all together. So they go and get the ghee. There's a whole elaborate story, I am cutting it short. And the ghee is in a container which the cook gave them. Suddenly they had a Vedantic discussion. We call this a ghee pot, therefore ghee is the adhara. Without the pot, the ghee cannot be carried, therefore the pot is the adhara. As they were fighting, arguing very extensively on that street going towards the ashram where they were studying, there was an elderly gentleman who was passing by. He said, if the ghee is adhara, then you turn the pot upside down, the ghee should still remain. It should carry the pot. If it doesn't, then the pot is the adhara. What happened? See, the understanding and grasp has to be very, very clear. That the pot is the adhara and the ghee that is carried in it is called the adheya. The entire Srishti is being given its validity only, if and only, when this Chaitanya is cognizing it. Without the cognition of this Chaitanya Tattva, that prapancha is gone. Now, in order to make it clearer, because we will get stuck, though I am not seeing it, I am not perceiving it, I am not cognizing it, I may be deep in sleep, but still the prapancha continues, right? But you have changed the standpoint, right? For your convenience, you cannot change the standpoint. See, in many of the arguments keep continuing because either the groups that are arguing from totally different standpoint, or just to have the last word and last say, they keep changing the goalpost, they keep changing the standpoint. That is where the whole confusion comes. We cannot change the standpoint. The standpoint which Vedanta is striking very clearly is from the standpoint of you, the observer. Therefore, to remove the confusion, I'll take one more step. We are not talking about Isha Srishti, Ishvara Srishti. We are talking about Jiva Srishti. That Ishvara in this expanse expresses forth as this Jagat, but then on that we superimpose my Jagat. What happens to that my world? The entire world is withdrawn. There is nobody identifying with it anymore. When you are in deep sleep, or when you are lost in some deep thought, when you are disconnected from the outside, it is there, yet you are not cognizing it. Just as you were having your morning cup of tea, there was somebody who called and shared something with you which kind of either caught your attention or gripped your anxiety. You are so lost, the cup is still in your hand. Though the cup is in the hand, there is no sip from the cup. It is there yet not recognized. Somebody passing by from the house చల్లగైపోతుంది, తాగిన తర్వాత కూడా ఆలోచించవచ్చు. Oh, then you recognize it. Thank you. And then చల్లగైపోయింది. పునరపి హీటం కురు. Again reheat it. If I do not superimpose, there is no Jagat. Pravilāpya idam sarvaṃ. It can continue to be the cause of disturbance only if I give the value of validity to it. It is not because they are sour grapes, therefore I cannot get it, therefore they are sour. In Telugu there is a saying, Andani Draksha Pandu Pullaga Untai. It is not because it is accessible. And yet it seems to be accessible and valid only because I have given value to it. Without me, the conscious principle enlightening it, illumining it, there is no Jagat. Now, once you see from that standpoint, it is the choice of this observer to associate with it or disassociate with it. The sense of freedom. When I know that I have the ability to disassociate. And it is not a very difficult practice either. Many times we practice it in the Vedanta satsanga. Vedanta shabdalu raltune untai. The Vedantic words are ralling. But I have distanced, I have disconnected. Why? Some unfortunate example taken, you are lost in it. And lost in it, therefore, the words that are reaching, you are hearing, but there is no cognition to it. Completely disconnected. You may be forcefully brought in by your spouse to be in the satsanga, but they cannot force your mind to connect with it. Usually it happens that the parents have brought the children or the spouse has brought the husband or wife. Initially there is, kahan pe bitha diya mere ko, and then they realize. Even when you are scolding your children, they use this technique. You may scold with however much of decibel level. It will impact me only if I give validity to it. They will put a sorry face. Sir, go study. As soon as they turn, ये तो ऐसे ही बोलते रहते. Quickly, instantly, invalidated. And the moment you realize that whatever you have spoken is invalidated, idhar aa. Because we want to make it validated, right? Not only that I think of it, you should also value it now. And we also make that statement, right? I don't know when will they value all this. Meaning you understand that they have devalued it with ease. Similarly, towards the entire prapancha, we already have a practice of it, not a difficult task. Yatha Vedanta Shravanam Krutva na kinchidapi chintayet. We don't proceed further by validating it. Tatha eva. This entire jagat, make it disconnect. It is invalidated. You are not going to the prapancha or the vyakti or the vastu and saying that you mean nothing to me. That is out of agitation. Internally, complete disconnect. Where is that prapancha? There is no cause for agitation. Wherever there is a necessity for you to identify and work upon something, you are consciously, sachetasaha, you are consciously taking it up, identifying, working in that field, and once it is done, you disidentify. Because this leads to a akarmani, inaction. Right? You have asked me to disconnect. Very conveniently we use that in the field of our responsibilities. Responsibilities towards family, responsibility towards my job, responsibility towards the ecological system, responsibility towards the nation, responsibility towards whatever be the responsibilities. You are consciously making the choice, use, attend, and after that disconnect. That is called nirantara abhyasa. That from what platform am I choosing to connect? When Yudhishthira, before the yuddha begins, shoots 3 arrows. Imagine there were about close to 18 times 250,000 warriors. One Akshohini is 250,000. 2,50,000 times 18. कितना हुआ? 45 lakh people. 11 Akshohinis on one side, 7 Akshohinis on one side. You can imagine the expanse. Accordingly, proportionately, the gap between these two. So it will take a lot of time for Yudhishthira to gallop on his chariot, go there, do the namaskara to Bhishmacharya, Kripacharya and Dronacharya. So usually in the war, the system is you shoot the arrow that it lands just before, not on the person. The war has not yet started. So in front of the chariot that they are standing, saying, this is my ātmabhivandanam, my namaskara to you. Though you are in the opposite side, I still respect you. So he shoots 3 arrows. Before the other 2 acharyas can respond, Bhishma says, to who is this namaskara offered? Because at this point, my role is the commander-in-chief of your enemy. So as a commander-in-chief, I will have the rights to not give you the blessing. He says, no, not to the commander-in-chief. It is to the grandfather that you happen to be of mine. There is in that case, Vijayi Bhava. And that irritates Duryodhana and he starts talking nonsense. In the first chapter we have that description. That all of you protect this old fellow. We don't know where his mind is. He has just told them to be Vijayi Bhava. But then he has responded responsibly, wherein he now chose to identify with what role, execute it and then withdraw. I apply it in my life also. Because those who are speaking for a very long time, they have the innate urge to keep paravachana always. Therefore, I say, I speak only when there is a mic in front of me. When people say, Swamiji, come for Bhiksha, after the Yajna is done. And then they say, while they are arranging, Swamiji, kuch अच्छा बोलिए. क्या अब तक मैं अच्छा नहीं बोल रहा था? हाँ? So I quickly escape and I said, आप अब बोलिए. आपने क्या सुना, आपने क्या समझा, आप बोलिए, मैं सुनूंगा. Because the role is not that at that time. Speaking engagement done. There is no more speaking engagement. There is only peeking engagement. I only peek at it. Role, responsibility, you choose. Give validity. And after that, disconnect. Consciously, when you are from that platform functioning, when you sit on the seat of meditation, to withdraw from the world doesn't become a difficulty. And then it is a feedback loop that when you come back, it is from the strength of that conscious perspective that you engage. You see, you perceive. But the filtering has happened that it cannot come inside to disturb. Why? There is no connection. It doesn't mean you don't cognize. You cognize. अच्छा है. क्या अच्छा नहीं है. That's it. Done. There is no carry forward for it. Pravilāpya jagat sarvaṃ. And starting from where? Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitya vidhīyate. Starting from this conglomerate called body, mind and intellect to the extension of the outside world. Whichever is a part of this prapancha. Prapancha meaning a very technical word. That which is the result of the 5 elements. Prakarshena prakatita panchamahabhutayaha iti prapancha. That which is the expression of the, that is why it is said pra-pancha. Not a Telugu pancha. Pancha there means the 5 elements. Prakarshena prakatita. It is in such modification that it is expressed, including of this body, mind and intellect. Therefore, during Panchikarana, it was described that body is made of this kind of Panchamahabhuta, the mind Antakarana is made of the Sattvika. So the elements given are very, very pure. If we carry dirt in it, it is our fault, not the world's fault. Why has Bhagavan created this kind of dirty world? No, you have accumulated the dirt inside. Then that is not Bhagavan's creation, that is your Jiva Srishti. Go clean it. After having cleansed all of it, then when you sit, how do you validate, disconnect? That is your choice as the conscious principle. Then you come to the point, because even at this level of disconnecting, which is not the true intention of what has been said in the shloka, it is to reach to the point of Sakshi. From that Sakshi, you are now pravilāpya, even that who was observing. Yenas tejasi tatyaja. That which has been disconnecting, now disconnect that fellow also. That has also to merge. That is where the difficulty comes. I had given this earlier, I am repeating it for the sake of abhyasa. The moment the intellect knows that its power is coming from a reflected source, that there is this reflection that is sourcing me, therefore wherever there is reflection, there should be a source to it. And the moment that source is recognized, the movement of that intellect stops. It is merged into that conscious principle, pravilāpya. One by one, layer after layer, merge it into it. And with this abhyasa, when you strengthen it, it gives immense amount of freedom, that you are not carrying the burden of it anymore. Why? There is no more anxiety or fear. There is no more dvaya. There is only eka, ātmanyevākhilaṃ bhāvayet. Am I getting clear? Now continuing. rūpavarṇādikaṃ sarvaṃ vihāya paramārthavit paripūrṇacidānandasvarūpeṇāvatiṣṭhate. Helping us to practice this sada. Sada meaning sarva kale, sarva kshetre, both time and space, wherever we are. How do we practice it? In the Upanishad, both Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya say it so beautifully. Vācārambhanam vikāro namadheyam. This comes in Chandogya Upanishad. The Brihadaranyaka says that neha nanasti kinchana. First, let us see. Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam. How is it related to this? Rūpavarṇādikaṃ sarvaṃ vihāya. The entire prapancha is cognized by us as nama and rupa. Different languages can say differently about the same rupa. Nama can be several different kinds of nama. Even the same person can be called with different nama depending upon the mood that we carry. Our own children, when we look at them from the standpoint of excessive love and compassion, Nana, Bujji, Chinni, Konda, Bangaru Konda, from irritable mode, sometimes our way of scolding them is also funny. See, if you scold them, Gadida, it is fine. Gadida Kodaka auntie, Yavana Tidusunnaru. You scolded yourself. When I was a kid and I was scolded like this, I was like smiling. मेरे को गाली नहीं दे रहे, अपने आप को गाली दे रहे बोल के. हिंदी में भी तो होता है कि उल्लू के पट्टे, मतलब तुम उल्लू है ना. I don't remember this, but my grandfather used to repeat this story and laugh at me whenever he would meet me. It seems he was angry with me. I must have done something, naughty. So he said, "Gaadi kodka." So I went around the village, jubilant, saying, "Ma nana paper tintadu, kagidal tintadu." I must have seen that some donkey must have eaten some paper somewhere. So I went around the village talking about it. Little did I realize he was scolding me, not my father. But it was a funny scolding. So when you scold them, they look different. You call them different. It is the same vastu that you are talking to, right? And when you want to be stern, usually they call the entire name. And then they realize, oh, this is not something that I think I can escape. This is serious. The same vastu with so many names. The same vastu is called with so many names depending on the relationships. When the child sees it is the mother, when the husband sees it is the wife, when the parents see it is the child. One rupa, several nama. See, when I show you a vastu, immediately in your minds, the nama is immediately tagged with it. Right? When I give you a description, that which is orange, what came in your mind? That which is round and orange. Once I was saying this in some Balavihar class, and that fellow looked at me and said, "You." So round, orange and glowing. See, The moment I keep giving you the vivarana through the nama, the rupa is cognized. You show the rupa, the nama is cognized. You describe the nama, the rupa is recognized. That is how the entire field of world is recognized. And to recognize it better, each one of us, have you ever uploaded a video on YouTube? So when you upload it, there is one step wherein they say tag. You may think that this is the title of this particular video, but others may recognize it with different tags, different names. Now you have to imagine what all this could be recognized as. I may say this is Atmabodha, but this is Vedanta Vichara, so that is also a tag. Vedanta Shravana, that is also a tag. Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, that is also a tag. It all comes under the umbrella of Sanatana Dharma. It all comes under the umbrella of Hinduism, Chinmaya Mission. All these are different tags. Descriptions of it. The entire world is tagged by us as nama for a rupa. Now, when you look at the rupa which has these many nama, we forget the astitva of this nama rupa. There the example taken is clay as a raw product can be produced in different sizes and shapes, will be called by different names. That size wherein you can pour in it water, tea, coffee, you call it a cup. You go to the chai shops, they give it with a flat, you call it saucer. So you pour in the slurp it. You elongate it and keep it in front of the altar, you call it a flower vase. You expand it a little, you call it a pot. You give it a little rim, you call it a cooking pot. Lost in this nama rupa, we forget its astitva, that it is essentially, though in these many names and forms, it is mrittika eva satyam. It is just clay. Now to dissolve these names and forms, to merge it back into its essence, vyavaharically you have to break it and powder it into clay. Vedantically we don't do that. We are not violent. Because sadhana has to be silent. How do you dissolve it? You recognize the material and not the name and form. Where are we lost? In the names and forms. That which we are asked to dissolve is to dissolve the name and form. And what is the adhara? The adhara is always Chaitanya Tattva. The entire world projected is Nama Rupa. What do we have to dissolve? The Nama and the Rupa. Though on the sidetracked, it is so applicable once you learn this technique. When two parties come with arguments, instead of what is the issue, what is the cause, It is always he said, she said, he said, she said, he said, she said. Drop the nama rupa. Who said is not important. Where said is not important. What? Come to the what, you recognize what it is, solution is right next to it. Otherwise, give the value to the nama rupa, the stature of that nama rupa, the validity of that nama rupa, and then the intentions of that nama rupa, the intensities of that nama rupa, what is gone for a toss. Always come to the root cause. And what is it? That question of what is what takes you to that root cause. Where are we lost usually? Why? Yesterday I was telling, right? Tell why me. Why? Why has this happened to me? Nobody, however intelligent in the world, can ever answer that why. Because any why answered, we are never satisfied. That's a wrong question. Why has this happened to me? This has happened to me, that is a fact. Now find a solution. Why will never be a satisfying pursuit. Then come to what? What is the adhara for this entire nama rupa? In that, merge all these names and forms. All the names and forms are given to that core of existence. Whatever name and form you may have given, doesn't matter. Once I was shocked when I was talking this abstract topic to a 4th or a 5th grade class in a Balavihar class. The kid asked me a very beautiful question. So if everything is that existential conscious principle, do you mean to say that there is that divine even in a dead body? I must have used the word Shiva and Shava, so that triggered his thinking. What do you mean to say that Shava also there is? I said, yes. The existential principle is still there, but cannot be sustained in that format, so therefore we bring it down to its nascent value, which is carbon, releasing all other elements out. Existence is still there. The conscious aspect is avyakta. So now with this perspective, look at the world from its nascent value. That everything is the extension of that existence alone. Asti bhati. Exists and it is illumined. All the other attributes and value that we add to it are the sarvaṃ anyan dharman. Therefore, what should we do? Parityajya. We only see that shloka as an act of surrender. It is the greatest truth of Vedanta revealed. Sarva dharman parityajya Mam ekam sharanam vraja. That one reality alone, which we are not perceiving, because we are giving validity to all these deformations of form and name. Vacharambhanam vikaro nama dheyam. It's a vikara. Why? When our drishti is shifted to that eka atmanam bhāvayet, neha nanasti kinchana. Na iha asti nana. This is a Sanskrit nana, not a Hindi nana or a Telugu nana. In Hindi, nana means grandfather. In Telugu, nana means father. No, I'm not talking about those. Nana means the vividhatva, the multitude. Multitude is an appearance, projected reality. Not just in the Jiva Srishti, even in the Ishvara Srishti, it is nothing but a projected reality. When we realize that this projected reality and of names and forms is essentially that Ishvara alone, that is when it becomes worship worthy. Therefore, we worship tree or a leaf or a bush or a stone. We brought a stone from wherever, Kashi or Narmada, and put it in and consecrated it, and now we all bend down at it. What is it essentially? है तो पत्थर ही है ना. That which teaches us to see Paramatma in that pathar is when we drop the name and form and see the essential reality, which is that existential principle. Therefore, even when we are doing Saguna Sakara Upasana, the first step taught there is Shivo Bhutva Shivam Archayet, Rudro Bhutva Rudram Archayet, Vishnum Bhutva Vishnum Archayet. It is understanding that it is this principle that is being worshipped there, and that which is my essential nature. And that is the baseline. We say there is so much confusion. There is no confusion. Understand this baseline. Confusion is only when we ignore that baseline and then get lost in the nanatva. Na iha nana asti kinchana, not even a little bit. There was a time when Tapon Maharaj was in Uttar Kashi. There was Swami Shivanandji in Rishikesh. There was one more Mahatma just a few miles away from Uttar Kashi, above, in a place called Vashishta Guha. There, Swami Purushottamanand, his experience, he has just written one small book, one booklet. He has this profoundness of experience where this Nama Rupa has completely withdrawn. And all that he sees, his Ishtadeva being Narayana, he sees only Narayana Swarupa. And he says, today is the first time I come to experience what it means when they say, Kana Kana Me Rama. We are very utilitarian. We value something based on its utility. That is because we are attached to the Nama and the Rupa. From its essential standpoint, therefore we do not say that this world is good or bad. That is a wrong question. That is an Abrahamic way of looking at it. Our way of looking at it is neither good nor bad. It is essentially divine. that drishti has to be brought in. It's a very complicated Siddhanta. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. That divinity which is the core of my existence is the very divinity which is throbbing forth in all these names and forms. So shift the attention from the names and forms to that divine aspect. Therefore, in the entirety of 10th chapter, he says, it will be difficult to start with everything. Start with these things. Among the vriksha, I am this. Among these, I am this. During the day, I am the sun. During the night, I am the moon. He gives specificities. At least start from there. That which you cannot avoid. Whenever you see the sun, that is the Paramatma shining. That is the perspective of divinizing everything and seeing it from that perspective. Now, from that perspective, when I function in the field of vyavahara, even if it requires something to be changed, something to be morphed, something to be altered, it is not from dvesha drishti or bhaya drishti. Am I getting across? A very, very subtle point. It always matters as to where am I rooted in. Therefore, that morphing or change or altercation that has to be brought in is done from love, with love, unto love. I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu nirāmayāः, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevāvasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.